Cool. Excited to have everybody here, kicking off a collaborative event with, you might have been coming in from our Startup Grind Boston chapter, Boston New Technology, Prepared for VC, all connected here, kind of supporting and getting you great experiences, connecting and learning from the experts that we're working with. And our featured expert for today is Andrew from Andrew Startups and Growth Expertz, and really excited about this topic and diving into the growth hacking. There's always that stage where things you've been making progress in the beginning and then there's some sort of roadblock that comes up,
Mhm.
and it's it can be challenging going from going through those phases and trying to think, things were going well, what can we do to keep going and progressing and get get through those challenges to the better opportunities ahead. And that's where Andrew's expertise lies, and really excited to hand it over to you to kind of lead the presentation today. And yeah, our group was all really excited to participate in this event and um
Awesome.
learn from your expertise and experiences.
All right, let's go. Let's jump in. Everybody, thanks so much for coming. And I'm going to tell you why you should listen to me in a little bit. But first, as early stage founders, we're lied to by advertising platforms that, oh, you need to boost this post. Oh, you need to, grow through paid advertising. But actually, the traffic you get through paid user acquisition is a lot lower quality. And it doesn't give you the right amount of data when you're testing and stuff. And so we're going to talk about organic growth strategies. And first, why the hell should you listen to me? So I've been focused on only one thing for almost 20 years now, and that's early stage user acquisition and growth for startups. I started as a full-time head of marketing for the first decade of that, drove three exits. One was a $190 million exit in the classified space. Then I started consulting. I wrote a book. I do public speaking all around the world. And now I do a lot of fractional CMO work, all solving the exact same problems over and over again. So I'm very industry agnostic. I don't care if you're B2B, I don't care if you're B2C. There's a certain subset of problems pre-launch, launch, and post-launch that are almost always the same, regardless of total addressable market, regardless of your budget, regardless of the software and the platform. It's foundational marketing, organic launch, figuring out what's working, scale it up. It's at the easiest way to explain it. So what we're going to go over, I can talk later about the actual exits and stuff that I've had. So is basically how to think like someone who's had the experience that I've had without having to pay for the experience. Unless you want to chat, we can talk about that later. But the first thing is having the right kind of mindset. So having worked with, I don't know, over 100 startup founders in the past almost 20 years, I've begun to see patterns before I even wrote the book, on what kind of things they're thinking about, the people that are successful versus the people that are unsuccessful. And so the first thing is, even it's not on here, is you should be trying to help people. If you are not able to frame what you're building or how you're helping people, then you're not working on the right thing. That's the only thing that's going to get you out of bed over and over again, to get punched in the face by investors and early customers and your analytics and the market in general. You have to be driven by a passion for solving a problem and helping people. And once you know that you are solving that problem better than anyone else, you're unstoppable. You will never give up until you are successful. So if you're hearing this and you're not able to frame what you're working on in that area, it's a good time to rethink what you're doing before you get involved in 7 years of iterations, which is the average amount of time it's going to take to find product market fit. Look it up. I might be wrong with the number, but it's close. Anyway, the ethos there, the main meat there is that once you're driven by a desire to help and solve this problem better than anyone else, you can be very aggressive with your marketing. And I am not trying to spam people, I'm trying to help people. And when you can reframe that and create as much value as possible, then marketing becomes much easier. When you are not doing that and you're asking for value, it becomes much more difficult. Please sign up for our thing. No, it's get started with your free trial because we're giving you a free trial, right? So that's something I've noticed is very, very common amongst founders that are successful and scale very quickly. Very aggressive. We're just trying to get access to as many people that we can help as possible. You understand what I'm saying, guys? And if you have any questions, by the way, you can post them in the chat. I'll get to them later at the end of the conversation. We're probably going to do about 40 minutes and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. So another thing that I see amongst founders that are very successful is they're reactionary and not preventative. I'll give you examples from my own career as a consultant. No, Andrew, we can't do that. We might get in trouble. Or no, we can't do that because you don't know our industry. And as long as you're not in fintech, you can take risks. In fintech, don't take risks at all, you know? And so if everybody here is in fintech, listen, don't take any risks. I try to stay away from fintech marketing, but we do it with really cool projects and everything's slowed down by compliance. But everybody else, you can take risks. You are not going to get sued. Your little unknown startup is not going to get sued. You're going to get a cease and desist letter. And big famous startups like Airbnb and others have their cease and desist letters framed in the office because they know you can break eggs to make an omelet, and you should be able to react to stuff and not necessarily need to be preventative. Okay. So try and think, how can we do stuff, not how can we avoid doing stuff? All right. We want to test everything. No such thing as a stupid idea. So if you're not worried and you're not blocking preventative, you're not being preventative, you should be able to test everything, get the data, and let the data tell you what's working and what isn't working. The underlying North Star for everybody is user experience and user satisfaction. If you are not focusing on that over everything, you got to change that up. You know, if your users love what you're doing, then you're doing a really good thing. If not, you need to continue to work with them and get them in front, and not just friends and family giving you feedback. I mean, I can't stress how many times, oh, I showed it to friends and family, 25 people, and they all loved it. So we're ready to go to market, Andrew. Well, let's look at the data. What are new users that don't know what the brand is and are scared to give their data to an unknown company doing, right? So you need to be able to test with a lot more than friends and family, and and also not just paid user acquisition traffic, because they tend to be the least likely to do anything. So that can give you the false signals as well. But you want to focus on that. And if things are working and you're able to tell what's working, then do it more. Again, many times, there's so many different things to do that you're doing a little bit of social media, a little bit of PR, a little bit of SEO, and you're not taking the time to actually see which one is working and which one isn't, because you think you have to keep doing everything. The goal should be to find out what your playbook, your growth playbook looks like, and then scale it up with more resources on team members, more software for AI and automation to make it less time intensive, more ad spend to promote the things that you're doing. All of that scales up once you know what's really working. Okay. So why businesses fail at marketing. I made up this number 80-20 rule, but the majority of it is we spend 80% of the time building something, 20% of the time promoting it. You need to be able to analyze that. You need to be able to make sure you're putting the time investment in. As an early stage company, we tend to be frivolous with our time investment in hopes we're going to raise money. And once we raise money, we're going to do this. And that's a deeper human thing. We're always waiting for the next thing. When we get this, we're going to do this. But, now there is no such thing as too soon or to do marketing. You can even market pre-launch, social media, figure out your hashtags, figure out where your communities are, start talking about the problem that you're solving, building an email list following of people who are ready to test it when the product is ready. The worst thing you can do is not spend enough time promoting something and then just expecting the product to do all the growth itself. And so 80-20, make it look more like 50-50. If you spent 3 months developing something, spend 3 months promoting it before you kill it or feel like you have enough data on it, right? Product market fit is always harder than you think as an early stage business. And you need to be comfortable with understanding that your MVP is not going to be what the market wants. It's almost never. And like I said, it takes years of, launch, test with a bunch of people, get the feedback, go back and iterate. And in that cycle, you just keep doing it. And if you do that comfortably and you never give up, you will succeed 100% of the time. It just might take many more cycles of iterations than you expected. And another thing is you should test organic and then scale. Many companies come to me, we have barely any money left. We've been running ads, Andrew, and we don't know why it's not working. Oh, because you have no online presence. If I Google you when I see your ad, or I search for you on Instagram, which a lot of people are going to do, nothing comes up. Of course, I'm not going to convert from that ad, right? So you can't overlook the organic marketing stuff. You need to have a reputable online presence. Google and the app stores now also are looking at that stuff, linking and the activity on social media to signify that you're a trustworthy company. So you can't just overlook these things and throw budget at it. I mean, at the hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can, because you can still get some good data out of that, but that's not the audience, right? So your tracking needs to come first. And for everybody that is an analytics freak, this is going to seem really stupid and obvious, but it's not to most people at the early stage. Like, I'm building stuff. I'll get my analytics once we're, like really launched and out in the public, but you need to have that stuff, even if you're just testing with friends and family. The data that you're going to get from them, okay, not friends and family, from putting it in the hands of influencers, media, paid beta testers, you need to be able to know what your core metrics are. You need to have like a dashboard in your home or office that talks about that, that tells you, like, I can walk by and see what's going on in our product. And, it's not always common sense what that it might be a deeper post install if you're an app metric, retention. It could be referrals, like that K factor. If you're building something B2C, especially, the greatest signal to me all the way down the funnel is if people are telling other people about it. And if not, we go back to the product and try and figure out how to make it easier and more intuitive for them to do so and incentivize it even. And so you need to have your analytics in place before you do any of the other stuff that we're going to talk about. One of the number one questions I get at the end of these presentations is, what do we do first, Andrew? And you need to be able to prioritize, obviously based on the resources you have as a business, but the expected ROI, or return on time investment. So like I was saying, people are frivolous with their time investment. Like, you as a founder don't have 24/7 to put into marketing. You're doing operations, hiring, product development, fundraising, all these other things. I run a podcast called Funded Now What, where I interview recently funded founders. And I had a founder on yesterday who sold his last company for 195 million, just raised 7.5 million. And he was like, I don't do fundraising in a sprint. I plan it over a year, and I just do a couple calls a week, and to make it manageable. And I think that's exactly how I want you to approach marketing in the early stages. But you need to be able to look at your time investment spread across multiple channels and measure it. And then you get to figure out what is the highest return on time investment by the time you have money. And then once you have money, you can just replace that money for time, right? And you'll already know where to spend that money, where to get the highest return on investment, and absolutely avoid failing and wasting money. But with regards to what to focus on, I mean, you have to test everything, like I said. So you strategize based on, what do we have resources for? Like, oh, we have a person on the team who's an SEO expert. Let's focus on that. Or, I did SEO at my last company, and so I can do that. And then you also want to figure out, what's going to have an immediate effect, because, at the early stages, you need some traction. So it might not be SEO right away, unless you had an expert helping you and you can do it and leave it and come back to it. But so what are the channels that, like, everybody kind of needs to work on? Regardless if you're B2B SaaS or a B2C dating app, you need to grow via social media. And a lot of companies don't focus on it because, oh, it's public, and putting content out there, it could be different and damaging. And so we just leave it. And again, when you're running ads, or when you're doing PR, or when you're getting a podcast interview, or whatever it is, people go and check for you on social media. So it does matter. And Google cares. If you are a B2B company, coming up on Google is an incredible opportunity. And so having a presence on social media, if you're doing LinkedIn outreach and you're not active on LinkedIn, it's not going to work as well as the people that have 12 or 15,000 followers and posts every day, 10,000 organic impressions. They're going to see your outreach and then see your content organically and be more likely to convert, right? And so I don't believe in spending a ton of time on social media. So the first thing I want to teach you guys is how to hack a very low time investment to create a bunch of content and have it kind of automated. So you're posting every day on every channel, not wasting any time on it, but enough to get data over time, a quarter or a couple months, to get data on what channel works, what type of content works, what call to actions, landing pages, what features, products, what is working for you. And then you can learn over time, and that messaging can work in your outreach and your ads, and you can grow a small community. Now, you're not going to grow millions of followers no matter what organically. It just doesn't happen. And anybody you think that is an expert at social media, they're running ads on their stuff. Like, it's a pay to play environment. It's total bullshit if you think that people are going massively viral on their own. There's either, well, I mean, if it's a person that creates a new type of content, like, then maybe, but not for a business. Most businesses are spending money to promote their social media content if they have 6 or 7 figures of followers and stuff. So what we want to do, though, is get that positive online presence going with a very limited time investment. So the first thing I want you to do is to create a batch of content only one time per month. That could be one hour calendar block for a whole month where you're going to go Google memes about your industry. You're going to Google statistics about the problem that you're solving. You're going to make a few ads with Canva and ChatGPT about the features and the products. So you can easily, without even really thinking too deeply, come up with 20 or 30 different posts along the lines of, like, 5 different themes. Like, how does the product or service work? What is the problem that we're solving? What are some of the features? You want at least 10% of your content to be salesy and talking about what you're offering with a link to get started or try a free demo. You can work in testimonials. You can work in PR that you're getting. You can work in all that stuff. But you can create a social media strategy, writing out all the content ideas. A lot of times I tell people to start journaling after calls. What questions did I answer on calls with prospective customers or investors? Those are things that you can easily make social media posts out of, or you can make videos. If you're really comfortable, video is definitely the way to go, but usually people limp in by scraping a bunch of already existing images off of the internet. Scheduling that is still better than nothing, but you want to batch your ideas into themes. Like, so you have, salesy posts, how it works posts, testimonials from users, stats, and examples of the problem happening that you're solving in real life or something. So then underneath there, you have all the different types of ideas underneath those themes, and you kind of have a playbook for that meeting, or that 1 hour every month, once a month, to go and create content. This can be an intern or a junior person in the company that's doing it, but it's very low time investment. And then you're using a tool. This is later.com. It's $15 a month. There's also socialchamp.io, Planoly. There's a lot of them out there, but this is the one that I use with my team, and we really like it. And it allows you to schedule the content across all of these pages without having to really do anything. So that 1 hour, creating the content, 1 hour scheduling all the posts, writing it with ChatGPT and whatever, very low time investment. I'm actually doing this once every 3 months now. So I'll record a shit ton of videos, pardon my language, and give it to my team. We'll put it on here, add all the captions, and then I have a post going Monday, Wednesday, Friday with video. It's not driving tons and tons of ROI. I get a little bit of inbound, here and there, but the point for me is I have to show that at least I am active for people to even think I'm a marketing expert, and that's the way social media goes. So I have about 30,000 followers with only investing, a couple hours a month total. So that's what I want you to do for your on-page social media. Every business should be doing this. It doesn't matter what stage you're at. Eventually, over time, you'll figure out what type of content works, what platform works, what people are resonating with, what features, price points, you can throw all kinds of spaghetti at it, and then eventually run ads on that and really blow yourself up to hundreds of thousands of followers, or use that content in ads for lead gen. Whatever it is, you will benefit more by being active on all social media. If you do this, you also then remove all of your time from the daily grind of trying to post something. We haven't posted anything in a week. We got to go do this. And that frees you up to time block 15 minutes. If you're a solo founder, if you've got a team, you can put someone else on it. 15 minutes a day. I would love you to block. I'm going to go off of my own pages, I call it off-page social media marketing in my book, which is called the Startup Growth Book. You can get it on Amazon. You block that time to go on Reddit subreddits, answer questions on Quora, comment on top YouTube videos, LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, going and creating content, or sharing your social media content or your blog content or answering questions on all these spaces is going to build massive, awesome links back to your business. You're going to get leads. You're going to actually be able to get users and clients because they're going to self-qualify. If you go on Twitter, let's say you're a real estate investing informational tool or something, and people are like, just bought my first property or whatever. You can identify people by keyword and hashtag across all social media now and hit them with, hey, get 10% off this informational product for real estate, join over 1,000 experts or whatever it is. That time spend, 10x more valuable than worrying about what we're going to post every day on our own pages. I hope that makes sense for everybody. Throw a question in there if it doesn't, but you will also become an expert in competition, the conferences that are going on, the trends in the industry, where the big communities are online. So the more you become an expert, the more you will find podcast opportunities, PR opportunities, partnership opportunities, and you'll build links for SEO, and you'll get some early customers and users. So this time investment is much better than worrying about what we're posting on our own pages, getting 10 likes. You'll see, even after years of doing this, I'm still only getting like 20 likes on each of my posts. And that's because Facebook is pushing me. I mean, I'm just thinking of Facebook. They're all pushing you to, oh, boost this to show it to more people. Don't do that ever. Don't save that money for running ads later on. Stay organic. Don't care. Look at the vanity metrics of how many likes and follows you're getting. It doesn't matter. It's just posting anything valuable, at least, is better than nothing. So we want to schedule that, forget about it, and spend our time going off of our own pages to create awareness, to get awareness ourselves and drive users. I hope that makes sense for social media marketing. Okay, throw all your questions related to social media in there. I'll get to them at the end. The next thing, I'm going to pause for a drink. The next thing that every business needs to focus on is public relations. And a lot of times companies and founders think, oh, we haven't made millions of dollars. We haven't raised millions of dollars. So there's no opportunity to earn any media. And that's not true. I have gotten 20-year-old founders on NBC to talk about their product without having to raise any money. I have gotten founders in startups in Bustle magazine that drove 40,000 installs in one article. Obviously, USA Today, Forbes, TechCrunch, all these things is just about, going back to what I said in the beginning, creating value. That's what we're trying to do. So who are we creating value for in public relations? The reporters, the writers, the podcast hosts, the people who have the ears of our audience, okay? So it comes down to 4 things that we're going to go into. One is crafting a valuable story. So what is the problem I'm trying to solve? What are the numbers that we can leverage? Like, are we, categorizing billions of data sentiments or something? To say billions, are we saving people $20 million with our tool? Like, how can we craft a story that is really valuable for people who are talking to our audience? Then it's about building a PR database. And this is my favorite part of this entire lesson that you're going to get, because this PR database, which I now call our marketing mega list, which I'll show you an example in a bit, is an unbelievable resource that you can reuse over and over and over again. And you can leverage it for partnerships or when you're launching new features or anything else. And so this is a ever-growing list of people that you want to communicate with when you have big news stories or that when you want more PR. So building that is something you can start with right away, even before you have a news story. And so we're going to talk about that. The third thing is distributing the press release. How do you become your own publicist and send out a press release that actually lands, and who do you send it to first? How do you create values? So we'll talk about that. And then the last thing, I'll just teach you how not to fuck up when talking to the media. And it's easy, but it's harder than you think. It's not just talking the way I'm talking right now. You have to be a little more discerning and chess movie, if that makes sense. And really careful what you say, but also really focused on giving them value. And so we'll talk about that. So writing a press release, and again, throw up any questions you have in there. It's such a big deal. I mean, the PR alone, each of these social media and PR, each chapter's in my book that I go into, right? So it's hard to sum it up in really quickly, but you can use Chat GPT now to get a rough draft if your prompt is really solid. You want a press release that's no longer than 2 pages. You want it to be fact-based only, like only quotes and stats that answer the questions that a reporter or writer or a podcast host needs to make it easy for them to talk about your business. That's the value that we're creating. If we give them everything and they have a bunch of other people reaching out that don't give them everything, they're going to use our story. Hopefully, there's nobody that has a background in, um, PR here, but they're generally pretty lazy, like reporters and writers. And again, you're putting yourselves in the shoes of them. Like, how can I make their job easier? And so that is by giving them everything they need to regurgitate an easy, quick story about your business without having to interview you. And if you do that, you will get a lot more PR. So let's just look at so we start by workshopping titles and subtitles. You want a title that is like one line, vague. Normally, I don't even mention the name of the company in the first line, and then in the second line, we mention it. If we didn't raise any money, like the second to last one down here, we want to throw in some kind of numbers in there. Oh, this app edits videos 95% faster. You start with workshopping title and subtitle, and then when you land on that, the rest of it will come into fruition. You want to be interesting. You want them to read it, right? And so the title is really the most important thing. They're just going to look at the title of the press release and be like, oh, that works with my audience, or that doesn't work. Or, you know, that's why I said you got to ask yourself, is it valuable to their audience? If not, there's no reason to reach out. Like you're not trying to spam someone who covers politics the New Yorker with a story about fintech. You know what I mean? And so you got to be as aligned as possible, which is why I'll get to what the PR list is really one of the most important things. So you want to include your logo, catchy title, subheading, your date and location. Usually an intro, I always try to figure out how can I make this as newsworthy as possible. Like the blank blank company launches the world's first. And even if it has a bunch of adjectives, the world's first, I have a client right now that is the world's first anonymous background checking app, right? You don't even know what that means off the top of your head, but we want to make it newsworthy. It's a true statement. It's not a lie. Basically, what that means is it's an app where I can run background checks. We can run background checks on each other with just a username instead of having your legal name, which can be too much information for you to give away if we're in an online dating scenario. So then you get to explain what it means in the body. And, again, you don't want it to be long. We're not talking about how we're the greatest in the world. It's only facts. If you can't prove it with data, you can't say it. And then we want a quote from the founder and CEO yourself on there, contact info for the media personality. If you can put it as somebody else on the team, great. If you're a solo founder, just make Andrew at your company name. That literally is what I tell people. That way, the reporter's like, oh, wow, they've got a team. They're bigger. I'm not just covering a tiny little startup that is just one person. And Andrew, they'll never find. There's billions of us. So the last thing on there, it's not on this image, but you want to have a media kit on there. And I use a Google Drive folder so they can just click it and have PDF access to everything, founder images, product images, logos, I don't know, anything else you think they might need to be able to tell your story as easy as possible. And, this is from when I launched the book a couple years ago, just to give you an idea of, how I said, like, it's all about the facts and numbers and keeping it short and, like, oh, oh, oh. So the, headline is the most important thing. Startup marketing expert publishes new growth hacking book. Like, so I'm reaching out for this press release, or my team was reaching out to people who are writing things for entrepreneurs. So, oh, marketing expert, that could be interesting. How can we create value, right? So now you've got a press release. It's really like I said, if you write a really good prompt, you can get a great rough draft from ChatGPT. Do not only use something direct spit out from ChatGPT. You will get slapped it's noticeable by people who write, right? And so you want to rewrite it. It doesn't need to read like a blog article. It's not supposed to be like that. it's pieces of it are going to get taken into an actual article, right? So it doesn't have to flow like a story. Now, the next thing, like I said, and keep your questions coming in the chat, guys. I'm happy to answer them. I definitely think we'll have at least like 10 minutes probably for questions. Um, the press list is the most important thing that you're going to work on, because this is a resource you're going to use from now until the time you sell the company, and you can reuse it many times. So it starts with something as simple as a Google Sheet, okay? And you'll see on this one from a launch a few years ago of an Android app, you're going to make a sheet for every single list that you want to build. And that could be podcasters, could be bloggers, YouTubers, or it could just be all of the media based on every aspect of what our business is about. What I mean by that is this company was an Android launch of a travel app by a female founder. And I wanted you want to build a list of reporters and writers that talk about each of those things. Who's telling stories about female founders right now? Because this one's badass and I want to promote her to those people telling that story. Who's talking about travel apps and travel mobile apps? Who's talking about Android releases? Like these are all different lists of people, but I can continuously build this list over time. So I don't care if you don't even know when you're launching, when you're going to have a new story. This is something you're going to want to start building immediately. And it's very easy and it's very low time investment. And I'm going to tell you how to build it in a second. But the goal here by launch day is to have a couple hundred emails in each of these different categories. And I'm going to show you how to get it, like I said. But then you can just, do some bulk email outreach, and you have, boom, you've sent your story out to hundreds and hundreds of people who care and think it's valuable. You would be surprised how much you can get. Usually about 30% of podcasts respond, about 10% of the media respond positively. So if you have, 300 of each, you're going to, boom, you're getting 30 podcast interviews and 30 potential. Again, if it's really aligned and you do have a story, there's some nuances to that, but it's a great way to really explode your links. You can put those as seen on your website. You can work the press into email automation, LinkedIn automation. Hey, just thought you'd like to see this article we just got covered in Forbes. That's going to make people move forward. You can run an ad to a Forbes article if it's got you a hyperlink at the top paragraph. If not, don't do it. And there's a lot you can do with that PR, right? Also helps you with thought leadership, standing in the market, your SEO, all the above. So how do you do it? Totally for free. You go to Google Alerts. If you don't know what Google Alerts is, you need to drop off of this call right now. No, I'm kidding. You need to go to alerts.google.com. Doesn't look like it on this URL, but that's what it is. And put an alert for your name, the company name, thecompany.name.com, and you will get an email anytime from Google, anytime in real time, someone publishes content on the internet with your name or those words in it. That's the baseline, right? So if anybody writes something about Andrew Lee Miller or Andrew Startups or Growth Expertz, my agency, we find out about it because they might not tell you. Those reporters might not tell you, right? And so it's a great way to find out about those things. When you're doing marketing, it happens. I mean, it happens to me all the time because I have a lot of content out there. Someone includes a story about my book or whatever, or my courses or one of my talks or something, and I want to reshare that on social media. I want to make sure it's representing me in a good way. Sometimes they don't include a hyperlink, so I reach out to them and say, yo, can you hyperlink to my website? So that's one thing. But the way to grow your press list is to put in keywords around the problem that you're solving, the industry. You know, um, for me, it could be founder conference, startup events, startup marketing, growth hacking events. Like I want to see who's writing about those things because they're likely to want to write about my stuff that I'm working on. So what keywords can you put on there that's going to lead them to sending you content that you can then click on and find a reporter that is interested in writing about your stuff. So if this person writes about tourism stuff, believe it or not, qualitative data, but around 75% of reporters, you can click on their name and it's got their email right there. If it doesn't have their email, 90 something, maybe 95% have their Twitter. And you can skip, you can go right to Twitter and tweet to them, hey, what's your email? I have a story for you. DM? Sure, send me a DM. Does anybody know who this is, you don't have to unmute. This is Anna, is the lead startups reporter at TechCrunch. Okay. So for the last 3 years, she's covered all of my clients and written about my book, which was hugely beneficial for me. All started from a tweet, you guys. And so they respond because what is the value that I'm giving her? A story. What does she need? A story. So if I'm able to create value, then they're going to respond. You can see I had hair 3 years ago. Don't judge me. COVID was tough. Um, so for everybody, let's do this. So here, for the most important people, once you have that list built, you want to send a cold message. And if you don't learn from anything else I say, this is the most valuable thing. Building a press list is awesome. Not everybody's going to do it. That only takes like 20 minutes a day, by the way, to build that press list. So every day you're getting 4 or 5 emails from Google. You're going to just add the ones that are really great to that list and let it keep growing. And then eventually, when you have a news story or you have something that you really want to talk about, you have the opportunity to start gleaning that list for the most important people. I usually say focus on the top 10% big opportunities first. And then we're going to write a cold message at reaching out to them individually. And this is what I said is maybe the most valuable thing that I'll teach you all day today is how to write a really, really good cold message. And I'm an expert at this. I actually met my wife through cold messaging her, so it works in personal life as well. One is obviously thinking about how can we create the maximum amount of value. I DM'd my wife on Instagram. I did not say you're hot or anything like that. There's no value in that, right? It was, hey, I'm going to be in Johannesburg. I'd love to do some yoga. You're an amazing yoga teacher. Okay, yeah, cool. She invited me. Boom. With this, what the three things only we want to include in a message: who you are, and not, hey, I'm Andrew, I'm working with this company, I'm a consultant, I'm doing this. No, it's all wasted space. And I fight with clients all the time about, I hope your day is going great, or I hope you're doing well. It's a waste of space. Google identifies that as spam. The person identifies it as spam, right? No friend writes like an email like that. You're like, hey, check this out. I saw this. I thought of you. That's how friends write. That's what Google is looking for, or Gmail or whatever. So, hey, Lisa, I'm working with this company. I've got this thing for you. The second part, so 20% who you are in relation to the value for them, 60% the value you have for them. I've got this thing. I want to arrange an interview with the founder for you, blah, blah, blah. And then 20% a call to action. And when you do your outreach, you're going to be testing different call to action. Here, it's a clickable link to see our press release. Sometimes it could be just asking a question. Would you be interested if I send you the press release? A Calendly link, a piece of content for them to review, et cetera, et cetera. But if you shorten your emails and your cold outreach down to that, crazy things can happen in your life. With investors, especially, the longer your email, the more likely they are to not respond. That is a true inverse correlation. The longer your email, the less likely you are to get a response. That's because 80% of people now are opening emails first time on their phone. And if it's more than a one scroll on the phone, I'm too busy for this right now. I'll check it later. They're not going to check it later. It gets overlooked. It's too much work. We're trying to create value, not ask for value. Asking them to read through a really long email is asking them to create value for us, right? And so I want to be really, really, and I'm constantly working to make my messages shorter. And it's brutal. It's tough because even there's power in silence, I guess. So say less in your messages. For everybody else, we use different tools for automating the outreach. This can be for PR, for sales as well. It's really everything is outreach, whether you're trying to find employees or partners or PR or customers. This is a tool called reply.io. It's a boiled down sales outreach email thing, but I love it because it has an unbelievable tool, visual email writer with a red to green rating on how likely your email is to get delivered. That really helps with the emails. It trains you on what words are spam in Google's eyes, what emails are too long, the readability, all of that is AI driven, and it's really amazing because you can create really good emails through them, and then schedule this. And you know, every time you get a new email in your press list, you can go and manually drop another email in this people section up here, and then they'll just be on an automation to get emails from you about your startup. So you're literally replacing a person that you would normally need to have, which now doing, a publicist's work for you with $100 a month software. So that is everything you need to do for PR. Is another example of how short a press release is. Like this, again, that's really short, but you want to be able to get your point across really quickly. If it's really long and they can't figure it out, they're not going to contact you. Okay. So throw up some PR questions in the chat. We're going to be wrapping up in a little bit here, but the last thing I want to say is talking to the media. A lot of founders, I tell them to go to as many networking events as possible, starting immediately, even if it's virtual, because you're building in a silo. You're not great at pitching yourself, and you're not ready to speak to the media until you've spoken to regular humans that are not writing a story about you enough to where you can get down the 10-second pitch, the 30-second pitch, the 1 minute and the 5 minute pitch. You know what I mean? Don't go past 5 minutes with investors or anything. You got to be able to get it down to 5 minutes. The reason those meetings go longer is they ask questions, right? So some tips on speaking to the media. Even though I just did it, don't say or like if you're that kind of person, you need to practice in the mirror a bunch and imagine that you're on a call with someone and really kill that problem. It subconsciously makes you not sound smart, and they will not want to write about you as much, right? You want to not do what I've been doing this presentation and talk very slowly. A lot of times these are just phone calls. They're not recording, even though they should be. They're taking notes, and they're only going to be able to write based on their notes. So if you go slower and talk at like this speed and with really short answers, then they should be able to cover the most important aspects of your business. The reason why I focus on short answers is because when I am training executives for this stuff, and then I see them go out and do calls, they get nervous. Interviewer asks, so tell me about blah, blah, blah startup. And all you should be doing is like a 30-second answer, the about paragraph, right? The elevator pitch. But they go off into the origin story and what the features are and all this other stuff. And then a 5 minute answer. And they're like, okay, cool. Thanks for the interview. Oh, shit. I didn't give them, you want to keep it short. Let them guide the interview with you. Okay. And you'd be surprised how much this is, how important this stuff is, because again, the goal is to help them get good content so that they write about you. They don't write about everything that they interview, right? So it's a funnel. It's reaching out. Yeah, I'm kind of interested. They might have some email questions. Then it's a call. Then they cover you maybe, right? So you got to crush it on the phone too. And then the most important thing here, what I was talking about earlier, is there's no such thing as off the record. You need to be able to be careful with what you say, especially if you're in a competitive market. If you think twice about anything, don't say it. Don't talk about future goals, even if they ask you. And then going back to number one, there's always ways to dance around things. So for number one, instead of saying I don't know, because it makes you look like you don't know shit, obviously, say, you know what, that's an excellent question. Nobody's asked me that, and I'd really love to check with my team before I answer, but I'll send you an email answer if that's okay. Or that's a really great question. I'd have to check the data to give you a really accurate response on that. Something, that's an awesome question. I would really like to ask my head of marketing for that. So I'm going to connect you to so he can chat or she can chat about that. So I think that will really help there. And then on the last thing, if they ask for, what are your future plans, just bring it back to what the immediate focus is right now. So we definitely have a bunch of long-term plans. We're planning to be around for a really long time and disrupt this industry. But the core thing that I want to focus on right now is just helping people save time and money with blah, 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 so that's how you can bring that back. Does that make sense? So we're wrapping up. If anybody, because of Jason and Prepare for VC, I'm normally $500 for a consultation. You can scan this, you can book a free call with me, and we can chat about any of these things deeper. You can also go to startupgrowthbook.com and grab a copy of my book. And you can find me on all social media at Andrew Startups. And I would love to chat with anybody. But first, let's go in and see what these questions are looking like. 6 questions. Awesome. Glad I finished quick. Yes, you will get the recording afterwards. Um, Initially, when you don't have enough following, are you better off commenting on other people's posts? Shafali, you took the words right out of my mouth in my presentation. Yes, absolutely. You need to schedule content on your own pages so that you're doing something. So you're showing activity, but then you go off and you spend time engaging on other people's stuff to figure out what language is working, what call to action is working, what features, price point, products they're interested in, what channels are most interesting to people. And that's when you can start to learn a lot. And that time investment, I think, is really good. What's a good product to place content across social media? We went on that later. We talked about that. So later's good. Yes, you'll get a recording. I guess that's it. There was only a couple questions on there. So does anybody else have any questions, marketing or otherwise related? Scott, maybe? Namrata?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll
All
ask one
right.
while we're waiting for
Okay.
some more questions here too. So, um, newer tools that have come out, ChatGPT and others. I mean, one of my favorite prompts is if you're using it to create content is or ask me the questions that you would need to create this post for me. So like having it
Mhm.
kind of prompt and ask a series of questions. What kind of prompts or strategies do you like to use when it comes to using AI and other tools?
So for me, it's an iterative process. I'll do a prompt and then I'll be like, oh, I can add another line. You want to be like my prompts are long. Like if I'm, it's like half as long as a blog post to get the blog post, but it's like amazing, it's an exaggeration. So um, you know, I can't think of one specific right off the top of my head. I mean, I personally am not using it as much as people on my team anymore, but I found recently, even for personal advice, it's been really good. I don't want to dive too much into that, but basically, my point is like you write out a prompt, then you get the answer, and then you go back and you add another line and another line, and if it's like 6 or 7 like parts to the prompt, that's when you're getting the best possible response. But as a marketer, the goal is to not be scared of AI and use it as a tool, and so it's definitely not giving you good enough stuff to just like I always say, don't use ChatGPT as a final result, but use it to get your rough draft of your press release and then have a framework to write from there. And so, yeah, that's what I think about that.
Perfect. And what's your approach on I've heard some marketers say pick one channel and really focus on that. Others say, be
Mhm.
wherever your customers are, spread it out. What approach do you like?
I think you got to spray and pray in the beginning phases to figure out where they are and where they're most active. So I think what you meant, like specifically the one channel is like on social media. And that's really usually true. And you'll figure it out pretty quickly. Like obviously if B2B, it's LinkedIn or Twitter. You're not really gonna, unless it's low ticket price stuff, you're not gonna really scale through other social media that much, but you still need to be there. Like I'm still posting on Pinterest, even though I've never gotten anything out of it from an SEO perspective. And you never know who's discovering you where. Everything is a search engine, right? And so you want to be everywhere your customers might be able to search for you. But you're right. Like you should initially spread your time evenly, assess your return on time investment, and then start optimizing for that. And so that can be eventually one channel that's really working for you. And that totally makes sense.
Perfect. Yeah, looks like Steve has a question.
Go
Yes.
ahead, Steve.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Jason. Hi, Andrew. I have a question about Facebook and a strategy because
Okay.
I posted a link to an interview we did with a band, and we know that our most of our audience is on Facebook, and there was like nothing that came out of that. Usually, you'll see a day or two later, so and so liked the post, so and so liked the post, and I saw nothing. And I'm wondering, does Facebook now downgrade anything with an outside link?
Maybe. I don't think so. No. I mean, how many followers do you have?
I personally have about 500 or 600, and my business has about 4,000.
That's what I meant, the 4,000. So you should, so I mean, need more context, but it sounds like you shared a post to 4,000 people and you're surprised that it didn't get any organic activity. That's what you're saying?
I got a lot less than many of my other ones where I'm simply putting a picture, or
Yeah.
I do screenshots of our app so that it's, it's
Yeah.
not
So
going up. Yeah.
I get it. So a couple things. One can be timing. Two can be the type of content. Three can be you accidentally put only show to friends or some other stuff on there. I mean, like there's a lot of nuances to that, but that's what I'm saying. Like focusing on what you're posting organically on social media. Don't look at those vanity metrics. Like the platform is designed to convince you to spend money to promote the content. So they are limiting the organic reach somewhere between, max 5% or so of your audience is going to see a post. I mean, depending on how organic your following has been garnered or whatever. So then they're going to tell you and send you a message and a notification. Oh, I want to get more views on this, boost this post. And so looking at that and pining over that is a waste of your time. Instead, figure out, over the past 90 days, what was the type of content that got the most engagement? So that one sounds like it didn't get that much engagement. And then realizing that and then doing more of that, adding more hashtags. I really think posting on your own page is not very important, which is why I said schedule it and set and forget it, and then go off and share your content on other groups. So I don't know, from the name of your business, it sounds like a radio station or something. It could be radio fans groups or whatever. You're sharing that content off of your own pages. You're going to get a lot more. I'll give you an example. I make reels on Instagram, like I said, once a month, but I was in a bar and it was salsa. I'm salsa dancing, and I see a guy working on his laptop, like loud as hell, headphones on, just completely shipping something, right? And I made a video of him. Like, if you're this dedicated on a Saturday night at 11:50 p.m. to work on your business, you're going to succeed. Put it on my own Instagram, maybe 70 likes. Put it on a LinkedIn group of startup founders, 30,000 likes. You know what I mean? And so a lot more exposure there than on your own pages. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but look over the past 90 days at what type of content has worked best for you and what channels work best, and do that more. And then that should alleviate that problem. Anybody else? Questions? Anyone? Awesome.
Perfect. No, great. Oh, this was great. Thank you so much. Perfect. No, this was amazing. Yeah, really appreciate you spending the time with all of us and sharing, your QR code for additional access and
Absolutely.
conversations after this. And yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll post the recording on our channel too. Share a link with you too to kind of share it out as well. And yeah, really appreciate it. And spending the time and the great questions from the audience here as well.
Awesome. Look forward to working with anybody that needs marketing help. Please reach out. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good one.